Hi, tonight I am very excited to read about Walt Disney's Dumbo, who has the biggest ears ever. This version is from this book, Disney's Animal Stories, owned by Benguet Provincial Library. Oh my goodness, isn't he adorable? Cooed the lady elephants when they first saw the new baby. Mrs. Jumbo was beaming with pride. Lovingly, she caressed Jumbo Jr. with her trunk. Achoo! The little elephant sneezed, shook his whole body, and unraveled his large ears. The lady elephants couldn't believe their eyes. How awful! They cried, shaking their heads disapprovingly. We'll have to call him Dumbo. They laughed. Mrs. Jumbo was furious. She went to the corner of the circus car and swept her baby toward her, cuddling him protectively. He was perfect in her eyes, and she loved him dearly. Dumbo loved his mother too. Playfully, he hid behind Mrs. Jumbo's legs, squealing with delight when she tapped him with her trunk. And when it was time for bed and his mother wrapped him up and rocked him to sleep, Dumbo felt safe and warm. The next day, they marched in the circus parade. People laughed when Dumbo tripped on his ears and fell in a mud puddle. Hey, look at the little elephant with the big ears, shouted a boy. He and his friends teased Dumbo. They pulled his ears so hard that Dumbo fell down when they let go. Trumpeting with rage, Mrs. Jumbo picked up a bale of hay and threw it to the ground. Mad elephant! Shouted the crowd, and Mrs. Jumbo was soon tied in chains and sent to solitary confinement. Poor little Dumbo was all alone. Heartbroken, he sat in a corner and cried while the big elephants gossiped and snickered. It's all Dumbo's fault, they said. With those ears only a mother could love. And when the little elephant walked toward them to eat some hay, they turned their backs on him. Poor little guy, thought Timothy Q. Mouse. There he goes without a friend in the world. Determined to do something about it, he followed Dumbo. I'm your friend, he promised, offering a peanut. I'll help you free your mother, but first, we need to make you a star. Although Timothy tried his best, Dumbo became a clown instead. The other clowns painted his face and dressed him like a baby. Pretending to rescue him from a burning building, they threw water in his face. But most humiliating of all, they pushed him from the tall tower into a small bucket of water. Everyone laughed at the little elephant. Dumbo felt so ashamed. After the show, he hung his head sadly as Timothy washed away the paint. Big tears fell down his cheeks. Poor little guy, thought Timothy. Cheer up, Dumbo, he said. I'm taking you to see your mother. The little elephant happily followed Timothy to the prison car. Mrs. Jumbo cried tears of joy as she rocked her baby, soothing him with a lullaby. And when they had to say goodbye, mother and son stretched their trunks, holding each other as long as they could. That night, Timothy and Dumbo had strange dreams. They were awakened by a flock of crows that were wondering how an elephant and a mouse had gotten so high in a tree. When Dumbo opened his eyes and saw that his dream was true, he lost his balance. Splash! He and Timothy landed in a pond below. How did we get into that tree? Timothy wondered. Dumbo, you can fly! He shouted joyfully, pointing to Dumbo's ears. Giving Dumbo a feather, Timothy encouraged him. You can do it! Just flap your ears! Suddenly, Dumbo was in the air. He was soaring. Dumbo and Timothy were overjoyed. They couldn't wait to show everyone at the circus. As Dumbo stood in the burning tower that night, he held the magic feather in his trunk. But when he jumped, the feather slipped. He was falling fast. You don't need the feather, cried Timothy. You can fly without it. Seconds before hitting the ground, Dumbo spread his ears. Up, up he flew. He did loop-the-loops. He chased clowns. Dumbo even threw peanuts at the other elephants. You did it! Cried Timothy. Dumbo was a star. Soon he was making headlines. People cheered wherever he flew. But best of all, Dumbo's mother was released from the prison car, and they were together again. The end. And that, my wonderful friends, was the story of cute little Dumbo who can fly. Good night, sweet dreams, sleep tight, and see you next time. Please subscribe.